Hey there, Papa's Posse. Don't forget about that QR code. Take you to my eBay, YouTube, and Instagram page.
The Fantastic Four, starring Reed Richards, Sue Richards, Johnny Storm, Ben Grimm.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Once again, it's time for Papa's Comic Books, Coffee, and more. Okay, today's reading, as you can see, will be the Fantastic Four, world's greatest comic magazine. Number 291, 75 cents, back in 1986. Title of the story is The Times They Are A-Changin'. It's by John Byrne and P. Craig Russell. Now don't forget, this book and others are available on my eBay page, Papa's-Comic-Books. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought about it, okay? Alrighty, let's see what the Fantastic Four have in store for us today. Greenwich Village, New York, 3:45 p.m. In a darkened alley way near Christopher Street, a shield flying car settles silently to the snow-slicked pavement. Supreme Headquarters, International Espionage Law Enforcement Division. Man, oh man, is this wild, even the air tastes different. Better keep your voice down, Torch, at least until we know what's going on. Very good advice, She-Hulk. Even Blaze, New Yorkers might be nonplussed by you. Assuming Colonel Fury's estimation of our present situation is correct, Nick, oh, don't you worry your pretty head about that, Susie. We are where I said we are, or more like when. I know these streets like the back of my hand. I grew up not far from here, and right about now, somewhere out there, I'm running around as a teenager. The times they are a-changin'. 'Cause it looks a whole lot to me like we're in 1936. Lost time is never found again. But how can that be? Not 20 minutes ago, we were in orbit aboard the SHIELD space station, and it sure didn't seem like we passed through any time warps getting down here. Sis, have you got any suggestions? I mean, you're the leader now. Now, what, Reed is dead? You can say it. Johnny, there's no point trying to sidestep that fact even in the face of this impossible situation. My husband, our leader, is dead. But he would want the Fantastic Four to go on, even without his brilliant mind to guide us. Although heaven only knows we could use his scientific genius to understand what's happened to the world. If only there was someone we could safely contact here in 1936. But we dare not risk making contact with anyone from this time. Yeah, well, we aren't going to have a whole bunch of choice in about a minute. Looks like today's the day they pick up in garbage. And here we are, surrounded by trash cans. Don't worry, Nick. Remember, my powers as the Invisible Woman include more than being able to make just myself transparent. Hey, I'm fading out. Nice going, Sue. He never saw we were here. Save the compliments, Jen. Another couple of seconds and I'd have been forced to drop the invisibility screen. Keeping the four of us and the car invisible is quite a strain. Hey, now there's a point that has to be one of the SHIELD's more normal-looking vehicles. But it's going to stick out like a sore thumb in this time period. Maybe, kid. Maybe. Let's just see what we can do about that. All SHIELD vehicles are equipped with imaging devices that allow them to look just like anything. But surely there's nothing of this vintage in your files, Nick. Not exactly. But how's this? Haha, UPS delivery truck. Sure, they always look about 40 years out of date. Okay, so we've got ourselves an inconspicuous way of getting around town. That still leaves us with the question of where to go. Good question, Johnny. And thoughts, Susie? Nothing terribly helpful, Nick. At this particular point in Earth's history, there were no known super beings around. That's true. Captain America and the Human Torch, the original Human Torch, didn't even exist. And somehow I don't think S.H.I.E.L.D.'s granddaddy organization know what to do for or about us. But you know, this being 1936 and all, I keep thinking we should find a way to zip over to Germany and knock off a certain little paper hanger before oh, spit, the cops. Nick, what happened? How did you spot us? Must have been license plate. I was hoping nobody pay enough attention to tonight to notice the date's 50 years off. Hang on. Careful, Nick, careful. If we have any kind of an accident, I know, history goes kablooey, but don't worry yet. We look like a truck, but we still handle like a car, and we can go places only a car can. Huh, that shook 'em, and it'll take a while for them to call into their station house. Enough time for us to... What in the name? We're back in the present. But how? I wasn't aware of any kind of transition of passing across a boundary between the times. Me neither, Susie. And I ain't gonna waste any time thinking about it right now. There's a S.H.I.E.L.D. base a couple of blocks from here. They can figure it out. Not so fast, Fury. If we're back in our own time, I'm out of here. Excuse me, Shuckle. What's the rush, Johnny? Alicia, I gotta find out if she's okay. She was all by herself when the time warp happened. Flame on. She's got to be okay. She's just gotta. But as self-sufficient as Alicia is, I can never let myself forget she's blind. And that makes her extra vulnerable to the kinds of weirdness that Fantastic Four is always smushing into. Alicia, baby, you're all right. Johnny, what's wrong, darling? Why shouldn't I be all right? Save the questions for a sec, babe. I've never been so glad to see you in one in my life. But what gives, Alicia? Why aren't you disturbed by the screwery time mix-up? Time mix-up? Johnny, whatever do you mean? And what are you upset? It hasn't been more than 3 hours since you last saw each other. 3? My gosh, it can be the whole adventure in one negative zone. Reed's death, this time warping, all in 3 hours? Reed's death, Johnny. What do you... Alicia, she's gone. The whole apartment's gone. It's 1936 again. This is getting too crazy. I got to get back to the others. If there's still anywhere I can reach them, for all I know, they're still back in the present. Or is that the future? That's the trouble with time travel. It makes you invent a whole new language. None of the tenses work, and sure makes it hard to figure out what's happening when you can't even figure out how to talk about it. Everybody's freaking out down on the street. You'd think they never seen the Human Torch. Oh no, I keep forgetting. They haven't seen me or anyone like me and won't for years. Got to get out of sight, stay hidden, or risk having the sight of me set off a citywide panic. Now, how do I get back to the others? Oh, brother. What the heck did he think he was doing? He didn't even try to slow down. Now he's out cold. We're lucky there's S.H.I.E.L.D. cars are built to take this kind of punishment. Nick said we were heading for a S.H.I.E.L.D. base. Reed told me they use all kinds of projections and holograms to disguise their locations. This wall must be a 3D image in our own time. Our own? You mean we're back in 36? But how? It's still beyond me, Jennifer. But one thing I do know, Nick's taken a nasty blow to the head. He needs a doctor. But how can we take him to a medic in this time? How could we even ever explain ourselves? That's easy enough, Jen. We'll just lie through our teeth. Now I won't be able to keep you invisible while you search out a doctor, so try to keep out of sight until I get back. And whatever you do, don't interact with the locals. Anything we do might change the whole course of history. Keep out of sight, she says. Easy enough for you when you're an invisible woman. Not so easy for when you're a 6'7" and green. It would be easier if it was still able to revert back to a human form, but I can't, and there's not much use wishing for it now. Adapt, and improve. I always say, Calling Colonel Fury, this is Space Platform 1. Calling, we have an urgent message for the Fantastic Four. What in the... Hello, S.H.I.E.L.D. This is the She-Hulk. Come back. Receiving you, She-Hulk. What is your position? Where is Colonel Fury? He's in La La Land. He took a bad bonk on the head. But where are you? How did you end up in 1936? 1936? This ain't going to be easy, as I hoped. I grew up on Long Island, and I've been out of Manhattan all my life. But this is all so different. So many of the familiar landmarks haven't even been built yet. Even our former headquarters, I always thought of the Baxter Building as being old, but it won't be built for years yet. And me, I won't be born till my parents, if only I could somehow turn them to my father for assistance. But he's only a child, my mother as well. Oh, if only Reed were here. The floodgates of her soul burst open, unbidden. A torrent of memory washes over Susan Storm Richards. Suddenly, she is once again 12 years old and meeting for the first time the shy, bookish college freshman who has taken a room at her aunt's Manhattan's boarding house. She feels once again the unmistakable pangs of her first love that will burn true, sure through all the years that follow. A love that will survive long separation and will bring her at last to Reed Richards' side of the experimental starship hurls 4 desperate companions into the void. The test is destined to fail, ending in their disaster. But an exposure to cosmic rays far above the Earth's slender envelope of atmosphere transforms a quartet of adventurers and gives the world the original Fantastic Four, and finally gives Susan Storm what she has long desired, as becomes wife of the man known as Mr. Fantastic. What are you talking about? She-Hulk's 1936. What the devil does that mean? We're tied into a global communication network. From up here, we show nothing amiss, nothing at all. But that can't be, unless it is possible that could be some kind of local effect, an effect that's only detectable in your side, or does that make me sound like a complete idiot? Is this something you can check from up there in orbit? We probably could if we knew what to check for, She-Hulk, but it seems to me 1936 in Manhattan and present day in the rest of the world, well, that's a condition unlike any we've encountered before, especially since we're scanning your signal source right now and can detect nothing out of the ordinary. Can you provide more proof of what you say? I wish I could. But I'm no scientist. I haven't the foggiest idea what. Help! What? Hang around a minute, guys. There's something going down. A car full of hoods chasing that one guy. That doesn't look like much of a fair match. Maybe I should, but no. Sue said not to get involved, not to interact with the locals. And yet, how can I just stand and watch? How can I just let him run him down? Sure, all this was over and done with half a century ago. But does that make me any less responsible? Now, lays me down to sleep and praise the Lord, man's soul to keep. If I should die, holes! Hi there. Need a little help? Picked up the car with the hoods inside of it. See? Told you, boys, a witch. Well, what's a dame? Ain't no dame. It's some kind of Martian. It's a devil. And that darky called it up from Hades. Well, I've been called some unflattering things in my day, but Martian and devil are even a new low. You okay, mister? Mister, don't hurt me, please. Don't hurt me. I ain't done nothing. I swear it ain't. Hey, take it easy, pal. I just rode to rescue you, remember? Now take a deep breath and relax. Who were those guys and why were they after you? Who are you, for that matter? Name's Licorice Calhoun. Them guys is Muscle from the Flamingo Club and blows clarinet for Sweet Tommy Connor's band. Connors? Sure, my dad used to listen to a lot of jazz records when I was a kid. I remember Sweet Tommy Connors. But how does somebody who blows a licorice stick for a jazz band get into trouble with the goons like that? You get caught with your boss's lady, love, or something. No, ma'am. Old Licorice, he don't mess with nobody else's lady. It's my dreaming. My old mammy always said I'd get me in trouble one day, dreaming. You mean they were going to squash you like a bug for sleeping on the job? Not on the job, ma'am. See, sometimes I has these dreams. They're real clear and real like after all has them. They always come true. You're kidding, right? No, ma'am. I wouldn't kid about something like that. I just think about them won't happen. And sometimes that makes me dream about it. If I dream about it, it always happens. My dreams make it happen. We couldn't be talking about incidents here, could we? Coincidence. And anyway, Mr. Cleveland, what owns the flamin'? He found out about my dreams and wanted to use them, wanted me to dream things for him. It went okay for a while. Then last night, he told me he had nos running a Belmont today. He told me to go home and dream that Haas, the biggest pot ever, won, and told me he'd have my fingers broke if I didn't. Well, as I was scared, it took me a long time to fall asleep. And when I did, and had awful dreams full of blood, fire, screams, they weren't no way human. And this morning, them guys came for me. They said Mr. Cleveland's stables burned down last night, and he's chomping at finally to get killed. Wow, and he blames you for it? Fury. Oh my gosh, Fury, where? Fury, are you okay? What? Shut up, She-Hulk, and listen to the radio. German leader announced today in Berlin that he intends to continue to pursue a policy of peaceful coexistence with the neighboring nations. In American President Roosevelt stated. Click. I don't get it. When did any New York radio station ever use an announcer with such a heavy British accent? They never did, She-Hulk. That was the BBC. Home service broadcasting live from London, England. What? But that's impossible. New York isn't the only place affected by the time shifting. Not no more it ain't. See, I wasn't totally zonked when I was talking to my boys up on Spa 1. I heard what they said about the rest of the world being unaffected, and after you run off and call them up on the car radio, only all of a sudden they weren't there. So I flipped on the long-range ionospheric monitor and started pulling on channels from all over the world. And all over the world, it's 1936. But how? I don't know, Green, but I know something. The nightmare is beginning all over again, and it's up to me to stop it. Fury, what are you doing? Fury, come back here. She-Hulk, look out. Woof. Who, what, where? She-Hulk, are you all right? I had to throw out an invisible force field to stop you from trampling right over me. I'm just winded, but we've got to get after Fury. He's going to chasing off I don't know where. We were listening to a BBC broadcast about Germany, and he said something about stopping the nightmare. Oh no, could it be? Of course it could. He joked about it earlier, and now disoriented by the knock on his head. You think you know where he's going? I can guess, Jennifer, and we must find a way to follow him. Oh my. And all of this is my fault. But I only did what you had to do. I know, Jen. Now we all have to stop him. Nick Fury is on his way to Berlin to kill Hitler. I hope he succeeds. Well, that was Fantastic Four number 291 from 1986. Hope you enjoyed that little reading. Now, don't forget, this book and others are available on my eBay page, Papa's-Comic-Books. Please hit that like button, give me a subscribe, and leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought about it, okay? And as Papa, the Fantastic Four, She-Hulk, and Nick Fury always say...
That was easy.
Until next time, Papa is out.